One thing that I would love to start this show out with real quick as to, and it's going to tie together as to why this is a good thing that we have in this country, which is the Second Amendment, right? And we love the Second Amendment because there's a reason we have the Second Amendment, right? And that reason is to protect against what? Dustin, share with the class.
Tyranny.
Tyranny. But there is a myriad of other things that we do that the Second Amendment gives us, right? And that is protection of self, family, property, right?
Exactly.
And this video gives us a very good insight as to that subject. So I wanted to share with the class. This dude coming down the stairs in the middle of the night. Okay. Now, Dustin, he grabbed his trusty, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's an AR and it's a 5.56 caliber. What would you say he's coming down to find in said house in the middle of the night as he heard some bumps in the night? What do you think he's about to find?
Mexicans.
Okay. Any other guesses?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Give me a serious guess.
A fucking robber.
Robber? Okay. Puts his
Or a
tack light
bear.
on.
Depends on where he lives.
Guessed right. It's a fucking black bear. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Up north, that shit happens all the time. That's why I started thinking about it.
Yeah. But think about that shit. What are you going to do if you come down with a bat or a golf club or some bullshit and there's a fucking bear? What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
I'm popping that motherfucker in the nose and fucking running
And
my
then
fucking fat ass back upstairs.
Yeah, after it fucking mauls you for 10 minutes and you're going to be in the Revenant all of a sudden trying to survive. Like,
Oh, yeah.
This is a good fucking representation why the Second Amendment grants us plenty of fucking reasons to why we have our right to bear arms, not just to fight government tyranny, but this right here.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, you know what I do? Have you seen that video of the fucking black bear that Shane Gillis is showing Rogan? And where that fucking black bear is like rubbing its back on something and it's got one of those bungee straps and it swings around and hits him in the dick and he drops like a man.
Yeah.
I'd probably hit that black bear in the balls.
Well, now if it jumps down on the fucking ground on all fours ready to attack your ass. Like that one did. That came off the table like on all fours ready to lunge. So, but still, I mean, perfect example of why, you don't bring a knife to a bear fight.
Oh yeah.
But I lead with that video as to we have the Second Amendment to protect against government tyranny. And government tyranny starts with attacking what? The First Amendment.
Yep.
The First Amendment is the first thing that the government will attack. Because if we don't have the right to say what we want, to express how we want, to worship how we want, then what do we have? We do not have our freedom of anything. Exactly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We serve the country to fight for, our constitutional rights. We took that oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And right now it looks like we got a lot of domestic right now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And it's sad when you see that. Now, one thing I want to address real quick is a lot of people, and it's not a left or right issue. This is just people in general. They try to sit there and when they say, and I don't want to say like this is a Trump issue either, because it's always like when certain presidents get in. Yes, it's mostly when Republicans get in that they say this, but I heard it when Biden was in. I heard it when Obama was in too, but it's mostly when Republicans get in that they'll say, well, he's in charge of the military. So what do you think what he's going to do? He's going to use the military to do all this stuff. And my immediate response to people when they say that the president, because yes, he's the commander in chief, he's in charge of the military, and the military falls under the executive branch, not the National Guard, because that's a part that technically, unless they're activated through legislature and stuff like that, they fall under the states. But
Yep.
still,
Yep.
the active duty military and the reserves fall under the executive branch. So
Yep.
yes, commander in chief falls under the president. They think that we're so blind to loyalty to the president that we immediately lose our sense of self-righteousness and like our not self-righteous, our sense of self-worth, that we would
Yeah.
just blindly turn our weapons on our fellow citizens and stuff like that. They think that we're so blind to truth because now, while it is hard to sometimes differentiate between lawful and unlawful orders when you're serving, because you may not feel uh it may not feel right sometimes when you're doing certain things, but you obviously, like, you can't just outright disobey a direct order because you get in trouble, and
Oh
it's
yeah, absolutely.
so. But obviously, when it comes to, if the, if this is a hypothetical to anybody who's watching, okay, this is hypothetical. If a president was to give an order for active duty troops to march on cities and start opening fire and stuff like that, that is an illegal, unlawful order. I think everybody can agree, and active duty troops should disobey that outright, and there would be no repercussion on that. I mean, that I think that's pretty self evident. That is a hypothetical, and just thinking of like the most outrageous thing that could ever happen.
But the problem with that is if we got to that point and that occurred, number one is there's too many soldiers out there that would just blindly follow the orders because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to rock the boat. Okay,
Yeah, and
there is way
you'll
too
have
much of that
those
shit.
types. But
There,
my overall thought, my overall saying is they think that everybody in the military will be so blind to follow their orders, which they won't
yeah,
be. There I would my goodness of most of the military would not follow that versus
mm.
the minority wouldn't. But you're
I
saying,
don't
but what I'm
know.
saying is, like, when it comes to these trained killers and stuff like that versus the support system of which is the
Yeah,
majority of the military, that's what I'm telling you, as like, there's only so much you can do with military support structure, infrastructure, and mobilization without the support structure, which is what I fell into before you get into the train people to go out there, right? If you don't have the support structure to mobilize and get these guys out there, which I think that's where you would have the most of the people that would not follow those orders, then you're not going anywhere. Am I
yeah.
fair to say
Oh,
that? Am I
absolutely.
am I fair to say that?
Ooh,
Because
yes and no at the same time.
I think that with my types of people, the support structure who would mobilize and get everybody that would fall into your structure of the military that you served, without me being, if my types of people were to be like, no, fuck that, we're not doing this, you would go nowhere.
Okay, so big picture, small picture. Big picture, yes, we would need support. Small picture to deploy, get on off the ground, boots off the ground, back to ground, into theater. You don't need a whole lot of support staff, especially if it's somewhere on our
For
own.
large scale mobilization.
Really,
Because you
really,
got
it
because
wouldn't take much.
but
Okay,
because you got to think
let
about
me put
this,
it
you
like
got to think
this.
about this way. We're not just talking about simple, like, I know you guys could drive your own MacVs and get out there, right? I know you could
Yeah,
do that.
exactly.
What I'm talking about is this. When you're talking about large scale mobilization of needing aircraft, all the ISUs
We
and stuff
wouldn't
like
use
no,
any of that.
but no,
Not
I'm
not
talking
for martial law, not on our ground. What we would do is we would jump in our fucking Strikers and Humvees and Bradleys and whatever we got to do. 5 tons. They roll out. So you're going to send out units from Kelly Hill to go around Georgia. You're going to send, guys out of Bragg. You're going to send 82nd out of Bragg, and they're going to, control that area. You're going to send, your guys at Fort Hood. They're going to go and probably police Austin. And then you're going to just diversify beyond that. Now, I think Texas would be one of the last places they would try that bullshit in, but it's easy mobilization. It's wheels to the ground. you get an order, jump in the truck. This is what we're doing. You're going to do a brief, and this is what we're looking at. We're going to be acting as law enforcement. Is how they're going to sell that shit. We need to keep people in their house. They're under curfew. They're under this, that, the other. That's how they're going to do it. If it's
And
off of
we semi saw that, not with military, obviously. We semi saw that with COVID, especially in
yeah.
Minnesota with Tim Walz, because he was doing that with the police.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then on top of that, so we've seen it many times in Louisiana whenever hurricanes hit, whenever they bring National Guard and the police in
Mhm.
there and they do these mandatory evacuations or mandatory lock-ins, curfews, all that shit. And I think, what was it, Katrina? A handful of people got killed by the police um, during that time.
I'm sure I was so young that I don't remember too much about that. Reading into it that much.